Imagine you're standing under the golden lights off a beachfront mansion, the tide softly pulsing at your feet, vows just spoken. And then you discover your bride on thievery night. You pledge forever as carrying another man's child, not just any man, her twin brother. Stay with me because what looks like a union of love and hope is secretly a spiral of secrets, fear, and hidden loyalties. Tap like button if you believe love is should be pure. Drop in the comments. Would you walk away if you uncovered sick a truth? Subscribe now because one reveal how one wedding became the stage for betrayal. 3 lives could never recover. Tyler Reynolds wasn't born in a wealth. He earned every cent. Raised in a quiet suburb on the outskirts of Brisbane, Tyler grew up in a single-bedroom flat with his mother, Lorraine, a night shift nurse who believed discipline was love, and time was never to be wasted. There were no toys, no holidays, just books, school, and a second-hand computer he taught himself to rebuild at age 11. By 16, he was coding. By 22, he dropped out of university to launch his first software firm from a garage in Redcliffe. That gamble paid off. Within 8 years, his predictive analytics platform was licensing deals to major banks. By 30, he was worth over $400 million. Butler never chased status. He drove an old green Land Rover Defender, the same model his late grandfather once drove on cattle farms. He lived in a sharp-edged glass home cut into the cliffs of Point Lookout. Stunning, silent, and spotless, everything in Tyler's life had a place, and everything out of place made him unique. He drank his tea black, counted his steps each morning, and reviewed every line of code his company deployed. He didn't have friends. He had systems. People called him intense, polite, untouchable, but those who knew him closely, if anyone really did, said his drive came from fear, a fear of failure, of chaos, of never feeling safe again after what happened to his father, who vanished without a trace when Tyler was just 6. He told himself, control is safety, and safety is love. So when he met Isabella Cruz, a Filipina nurse, with a warm laugh and a quiet fire, he thought maybe, just maybe, he could finally rest, that she was the peace had been building toward all along. Butler didn't know that sometimes even peace is an illusion, and even love can lie. Behind the wealth, behind the sharpsuits and billion-dollar deals, Tyler Reynolds was a man raised in the shadow of absence. His father walked out on Nemmerning when Tyler was 6 and never returned. No note, no explanation, just an empty chair at the kitchen table. His mother never spoke of it again. Instead, she taught him that survival means structure. So he built his life brick by brick timelines, backups, color-coded folders. While others chased spontaneity, Tyler chased control. His world had no room for surprises. Everything had to make sense or it didn't belong. In a rare interview for a tech feature, he was once asked about his obsessive routines. He didn't hesitate. Order is love, he said. Cause is pain. That line would later haunt those who remembered it, because what happened to him wasn't random. It was ours, intimate, personal, and disguised as devotion. In his office, above his desk, hung a single framed note in block letters. I've lost people. Before, I won't lose control again. To the outside world, it looked like a motivational quote. To Tyler, it was a vow that would be broken the moment he said, I do. Isabella Cruz was the kind of woman who made people lean in when she spoke, soft voice, calm eyes, the kind of reasons that made chaos feel quieter. Born in Davao City, Philippines, Isabella grew up in a modest home with tiled floors, rosaries above the door, and the constant hum of evening prayers. She was raised by strict but loving parents who believed in 2 things, family first, and sacrifice always. And by her side from very beginning was her twin brother Ian. The 2 were inseparable. Born minutes apart, they walked the same paths, shared the same meals, and in many ways lived one life. To their neighbors, they were 2 bodies with one soul. If Isabella was the calm, Ian waste storm, but she never minded. She always believed he just needed some Ianetto believe in him. At 20, she moved to Sydney for a better job, leaving behind the only world she knew. It wasn't easy. She worked 2 jobs while attending school, lived in a shared apartment, and sent money home every month without fail. Still, she carried herself with grace. Her co-workers called her the quiet one, the type who would offer you her umbrella, but never ask for help. In hospital corridors and late-night shifts, she made people feel safe. She had that gift, but no one knew the weight she carried in silence. The constant phone calls from Ian, the promises she kept even when they came with a cost. And when Tyler Reynolds slipped into her life, offering a love that was steady, structured, and safe, she thought maybe this was her chance to finally be free. But some ties aren't meant to be cut. Everyone saw Isabella's selfless. She worked double shifts with complaint, brought homemade soup to sick patients, covered for co-workers who needed time off. She was the kind of person who remembered birthdays, stayed late to comfort grieving families, and always asked if you'd eaten. But behind the kindness was something else, something few ever named. But many sensed. Her co-workers admired her, but they noticed the way her phone never left her side. The way her eyes would flick to the screen mid-conversation. They'd say, she's devoted, but always looking over her shoulder. It wasn't fear. Not exactly. It was responsibility. The kind that doesn't come with a clock-out time. The kind that binds you to someone long after the world says you should let go. That someone was Ian. Her twin wasn't just her brother. He was her shadow. And she wasn't just loyal to him. She wasted. When he called, she answered. When he failed, she fixed. When heckled, she gave up sleep to stay on the line. It wasn't love the way most people know it. It was history, grief, guilt, all twisted into something she couldn't name. To the outside world, she was strong. But in truth, Isabella Cruz had never lived a day that wasn't shaped by someone else's need. So when Tyler asked her to build a future, she said yes, hoping love could be her escape. But some escapes are just new prisons with prettier walls. They were born from minutes apart. Isabella first, then Ian. From the very beginning, they were inseparable. Shared clothes, shared beds, shared secrets. No one else was ever allowed to hear. Some said they didn't just finish each other's sentences, they started them. But everything changed on a rainy evening when they were 13. Their parents were on a ferry crossing the Surrey Strait. It capsized during a storm. No survivors. One phone call. That's all it took to turn the children into orphans. They were sent to live with their grandparents. Good people, but old, tired, and too heartbroken to raise more children. Isabella coped by helping, cooking, studying harder, pretending to be okay. Ian didn't. He shut down, missed school, fought with teachers. By 16, he was skipping class to bet on basketball games at street corners. By 18, he'd been fired from the jobs in the same week. Depression settled in like fog, heavy, stubborn, and silent. And through it all, Isabella stayed. She filled out his job applications, paid his debts, lied for him when relatives asked questions. Not because she was naive, but because she didn't know how to let go of the one person who made her feel like home still existed. By 21, she was working night shifts in Sydney and still sending money back for his rent. Some people move on from grief, others carry it. Isabella carried Ian. She became the nurse at work and the nurse at home, a giver in every room. But giving everything meant there was nothing left for herself. And when a man like Tyler offered her a life with no emergencies, just calm, just care, she wanted to believe she could finally live for herself. To Ian, Isabella wasn't just a sister. She was anchor, ally, excuse, and escape all wrapped into one person. The only one who never left. The only one who understood his silence, his rage, his failures without needing them explained. When the world called him lazy, she called him lost. When others gave up on him, she stayed. He clung to it. To him, their connection wasn't just close. It was sacred. He told Harris during one of his darker nights, "It's us against the world. Always has been." She didn't correct him. She couldn't because while he saw her as salvation, she felt like a lifeline tied to a sinking ship. Not love, obligation, not freedom. Guilt. She told herself she was helping. That one more loan, no more favor, one more rescue would finally set him straight. But Ian didn't want saving. He wanted ownership. His affection came with weight. His need came with demands. If she tried to date, he made her feel disloyal. If she distanced herself, he unraveled. If she mentioned boundaries, He reminded her of everything they'd survived together, and so she stayed caught between protecting him and protecting herself. It wasn't loud, it wasn't violent, but it was possessive, quietly, completely. So when Tyler Reynolds stepped into her life, offering space, balance, and a future she didn't have to hold together, Ian saw it not as a blessing, but a threat, and in his mind, there was only one way to deal with a threat. Would you recognize control if it were the face of love? Tell me in the comments. When does loyalty stop being noble and start being dangerous? They met by accident on a humid day in Queensland 2022. Tyler had flown in quietly to support a disaster outreach. No cameras, no speeches, just boots on the ground. Floods had displaced hundreds. Clinics were overwhelmed. He walked in with bottled water and spreadsheets. She walked in with gloves and a clipboard. That's where he saw her. Amid the chaos, patients crying, volunteers scrambling, Isabella moved like still water, calm, steady, focused. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't panic. She simply handled what others couldn't. Tyler noticed, not just her poise, but her silence, the kind that doesn't need attention. He offered to buy her coffee later that evening. She hesitated, then agreed. That was the first time. What followed wasn't whirlwind romance, no sudden declarations, no fireworks, just quiet mornings, shared routines, small kindnesses that turned into habits. They didn't fall fast, they fell carefully. Tyler liked how she never asked about this net worth. She liked how he never rushed her. He showed her a life with new bursts, no demands, no guilt. She made him laugh at things he had noticed in years. It was the kind of love you build with bricks, not fireworks, but there were cracks, subtle ones. Late night calls she'd step away to answer, moments where her eyes would glaze during dinner. Weekend plans canceled last minute. Apologies always phrased as something came up. Tyler thought it was stress, burnout. He even offered to pay for her to take time off, but he didn't realize she wasn't just carrying patients or overtime shifts. She was carrying Ian, the one person hostile called her 5 times a day. Theon, who made her feel needed and trapped. She never told Tyler how deep it went, how far it stretched, because part of her believed that if she could just hold everything together, maybe noon would have to fall. But you can't balance a double life forever. It happened on a Tuesday, no flash mobs, no grand speeches, just the two of them alone after dinner on a private balcony overlooking Sydney Harbor. The skyline sparkled behind them, the water below, still and black. Tyler reached into his jacket and slid a small box across the table. No build-up, no theatrics, just a question he'd been thinking about for months. Would you build a life with me? Isabella didn't speak at first. She looked at the ring, then at him, and then, quietly, she nodded, tears in her eyes, barely whispering, "Yes, Tyler." That moment was everything he had worked for, a future clean of chaos, a partner who understood calm, a love without conditions. They set the date, February 24th, 2024, a summer wedding on the Gold Coast. Small guest list, no press. Tyler began planning immediately. Meticulously, venues, menus, security, even playlists. But one decision he made alone: a $5 million life insurance policy. He didn't tell her at first, just filed the paperwork, listed her as the sole beneficiary, and signed the timing, days before the ceremony. Why? Because she didn't ask for it, didn't hint, didn't pry, and that to him was proof that this wasn't about money. Thatch was safe, that he could finally let go of control and hand it to someone else. But trust is only as strong as what you don't know. And Tyler didn't. That 2 hours before the proposal, Isabella had taken a call. She was pacing the hospital parking lot, tears in her voice, saying the same line over and over again. "Please don't do this, Ian. Not now." She said yes with love in her eyes, but somewhere deep down, she was still holding on to someone else. And you'll want to remember that insurance policy, because it becomes very important. Very soon, by late 2023, the cracks in Isabella's world began to widen. Ian had hit rock bottom again. He'd lost his last job, blown through money she'd sent, and owed more than $30,000 to men who didn't make polite collection calls. Loan sharks had started showing up at their old neighborhood in Davao, asking for him by name. He was terrified and angry. He called her every night, his voice shaking, words slurred by panic and resentment. "You're marrying a billionaire," he said one evening, his tone a mix of pleading and bitterness. "We're finally going to be okay. You'll help me fix this. You owe me that." Isabella tried to reason with him, seasoned him what little she could, begged him to stop gambling, to leave town, to get help. But Ian didn't want help. He wanted saving again. When she hesitated, he turned cruel. "If you leave me behind, I'll die. You know I will." That broke her. The same sentence he'd used years before when she first left for Australia. The one that had kept her tethered for so long. So she went to see him. One night, one visit. A quiet apartment filled with unpaid bills, empty bottles, and old photographs of them as children. He was desperate, ashamed, unraveling, and she was exhausted from holding both of their lives together. Lines blurred, words turned to apologies, and apologies turned to something else. A moment of weakness neither of them could take back. After that night, she couldn't look at him the same way. And weeks later, when she started to feel sick, she knew before the test even confirmed it. She was pregnant. Ian's voice over the phone was calm. "It's okay," he told her. "Once you're married, we'll figure it out. You just can't tell him yet. After the wedding, we'll make a plan." But there was nothing that could erase what had already happened. In that instant, Isabella Cruz stopped being the woman Tyler thought he knew and became someone trapped between the man she loved and the man she called never escape. February 24th, 2024. The wedding was a masterpiece. Every frame like a magazine cover held it a sprawling estate in Byron Bay, where the hills meet the sea. It looked like something out of a dream. White orchids draped over arches, violinists playing under fig trees, champagne towers catching golden light. Guests flew in from 3 continents, tech CEOs, political families, childhood friends, and distant relatives from Davao. The ceremony blended cultures beautifully. Filipino coin and veil traditions under a canopy of eucalyptus. Luxury met heritage, simple met grand. Tyler stood at the altar, calm and composed in a tailored navy suit. Isabella walked down the aisle in silk, graceful, elegant, timeless, but looked closer. Her hand shook as she adjusted her veil. Her eyes darted not at Tyler, not at the crowd, but toward the back where her phone was stuck into a clutch. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She whispered vows, but her voice cracked just once, barely noticeable, except to Tyler. I thought it was nerves, but her mind wasn't on the altar. It was back in a cramped apartment with a positive test and a lie growing beneath lace. Her phone had buzzed 3 times that morning. Ian, no name saved, just a number. She hadn't answered because this was the day everything had to look perfect. And it did. The world saw a fairy tale. But to her, it was a prison sentence stitched in lace. A beautifully in front of 200 witnesses. And on Litwo people knew the truth. One was Thebrid. The other was watching from far away, waiting. Comment below. Have you ever watched someone smile and felt in your gut it wasn't real? That night, the celebration faded into quiet. Guests slipped away. The estate emptied. Tyler and Isabella returned to their private tessuite overlooking the cliffs. She said she was tired. He kissed her forehead, told her to rest. She smiled softly, climbed into bed, and closed her eyes. Tyler stayed up. He wanted to back up the wedding. Photos, sync devices, undupload their honeymoon itinerary. Just routine stuff. He connected his phone to the charity cloud account they'd set up the week before. And then something unexpected. A new file appeared. A video, no title, just a date. TIMESTAMP.2. Days before the wedding. He tapped play. The screen lit up, and there she was, Isabella in bed, no makeup, hair pulled back, face flushed. She turned to the side, and that's when he saw it. Rounded stomach, a clear, unmistakable curve. She was pregnant. Next to her, Ian, shirtless, smoking, looking straight into the camera like he didn't care who saw. Then came her voice, soft, almost too soft to hear. "Once I marry him, everything will be ours." Tyler didn't move, didn't breathe. The phone rested on his lap, screen still glowing. But he was somewhere else entirely. In that moment, the mansion, the vows, few white dress, the years of planning, carefully constructed life collapsed. It wasn't heartbreak. It was disbelief. Like waking up in someone else's story. His entire world just rewrote itself. And the worst part, she was asleep in the next room, still wearing his last name. Tell me, what would you do if you found out the truth after you said I do? Tyler didn't sleep. He waited, eyes open, heart racing, the video looping in his mind, her voice, everything will Bowers, echoing until it didn't even sound human anymore. At 3:12 a.m., heckled and hold it in any longer, Hewitt to the bedroom, stood at the foot off the bed, and said only one word. Why? Isabella sat up, startled, confused. Then she saw his face. The color drained from hers. He held up the phone, pressed play, no words, just the truth. Unfiltered and glowing, she collapsed into tears before it finished. I didn't how to save him. She whispered, I didn't mean to lose you. He started unmoving. You meant to lie, he said. You meant to choose him over the truth. Fina knocked at the suite door. Tyler froze. Isabella's face went pale. She whispered, No, no. He wasn't supposed to come. Tyler opened the door. Ian, wearing a suit jacket, slightly unbutoned. Eyes bloodshot, a scratch on his cheek. We need to talk, Ian said. Inside, the air thickened instantly, voices raised. Ian accusing Isabella, pleading. Tyler quiet, until he wasn't. You didn't just betray me, Tyler said. Voice sharp, you planned this. Ian loud, bitter, tired. You think she loved you? He shouted. You were just the lifeboat, that's it. A safe place. Talk rash. She never left me. We're one. Yeah, we're just convenient. A glass shattered. A lamp tipped over. Isabella screamed, stop. Then silence. 3 people, 1 room, a lifetime of lies. And 1 line. Tyler couldn't stop thinking. I've lost people before. I won't lose control. By dawn, the suite was quiet again. Too quiet. At 6:47 a.m., Isabella called the front desk. Her voice was calm, almost rehearsed. My husband went out for air, she said. He hasn't come back. Hotel staff searched the grounds, the pool area, the parking lot. Nothing. Tyler Reynolds, billionaire husband of less than 12 hours, was gone. His wallet and phone were missing. His watch left in the nightstand. Security footage showed him leaving the suite at 4:12 a.m. barefoot, still in his wedding shirt. But there was no footage of him coming back. Hours later, a local jogger found something glinting in the dirt near the cliffs for miles from the state. A single silver cuff link engraved with his initials smeared with blood. Police arrived before sunset. The media got wind of it before midnight. The story went global. Billionaire vanishes after wedding. Detective Alanators took over the investigation. Sharp, methodical, she stood by Thecliff's edge that first evening, wind whipping through her hair. The ocean dark and endless below. Her first words to the press were clear. This wasn't an accident. This was a staggered disappearance. But staged by who? The wife who claimed he went out for air. The twin who wasn't supposed to be there at all. Or the man who built his life on control and finally lost it. Detectivators got to work. Forensics combed through the honeymoon suite inch by inch. Inside the bathroom drain, they found blood, enough to raise flags, not to identify right away. A shattered lamp base had been quietly removed. Staff said the room looked too clean. Meanwhile, hotel records revealed something chilling. Ian Cruz never checked out. In fact, he never officially checked in. He was staying off the books under the radar. Then Kameth insurance records. Tyler's $5 million life insurance policy had been updated 48 hours before the wedding. The sole beneficiary, Isabella, and the witness who signed the paperwork, Ian Cruz. Suddenly, everything lined up. Motive, financial pressure, family bond. Desperation means blood in the suite. Opportunity to act while guests slept. Opportunity, no alibis. No surveillance past 4 Detective Torres called it a textbook triangle built on codependency. Secrecy, in a carefully constructedly. But it didn't stop there. Isabella broke first. Under interrogation, she whispered, I never meant for it to got this far. She wept, said she just wanted to help Ian. That she thought Tyler would understand eventually. But the prosecution didn't flinch. Their response, "That's exactly why it did. Because no one meant for it to become a disappearance. No one meant for it to become murder, but someone did it. And with Tyler's body still missing." The case was far from over. The courtroom was standing room only. Press packed the benches. Cameras banned. But sketches flood the news. The headline everywhere. Billionaire bride testifies against her own twin. Isabella Cruz plead not guilty. No emotion. No apologies. His slayer didn't argue the facts. He argued the mind. This isn't murder. This is shared trauma. To people so broken they couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. He called it a codependent illusion. Said Ian and Isabella had no criminal intent, just desperation, blurred by years of trauma and emotional fusion. But the evidence was a wall they couldn't climb. Blood in the suite, insurance signed by Ian, a video time-stamped to days before the vows. And then Isabella took the stand. Her hands shook. She avoided her brother's eyes. She recounted everything. The night of the fight, the pressure, Theplin she never thought would become real. Then she said the line that silenced the room. "I thought I could have both. I thought I could save Ian and love Tyler. I was wrong." And with that, she collapsed into tears. The jury took just 5 hours. The verdict, Isabella Cruz life in prison, no parole. Isabella Cruz, 28 years for conspiracy and obstruction. She never saw her brother again. But Tyler Reynolds, he was never found. No body, no confirmed death. Only a cufflink and a question. What really happened that night? You've heard the facts. You've seen the evidence. Now answer this. If there's no body, is the history truly over? That receding him. Months passed. Search teams came and went. Drones, divers, dogs, nothing. Tyler Reynolds, the man who built empires from code and control, had vanished without a trace. No body, nothing goodbye. Just a bloodstained Doofenklink near the cliff and a void. His tech company, once the symbol of his genius, announced a surprise initiative, the Reynolds Foundation for Betrayal Survivors, a trust fund supporting victims of emotional manipulation, coercive control, and double lives. Behind closed doors, lawyers moved fast. Isabella's name was erased from everything. Trusts, shares, property gone. She would inherit nothing except their sentence. Ian, meanwhile, was transferred into isolation. He never spoke again. Not to the press, not to his lawyers, not even to Isabella. Shuis moved quietly to Silverwater Women's Correctional Center where no visitors came. No press interviews, no memoirs, no redemption arc. Just her alone and Tyler. All that remains is the question Hay once asked in a long-forgotten interview. Order is love, chaos is pain. Some love stories end in weddings. The song ended in silence and shadows. Now it's your turn. Was this a murder, a cover-up, or something far more calculated? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe because some truths are never buried. What's more dangerous, the lie you tell others or the one you tell yourself? Tyler believed in order. Isabella believed she could fix everything. Ian believed he was owed love. And yet none of them saw the end coming. If this story shook you, if it made you question what's real in the people closest to you, like, subscribe. Share it with someone who thinks they know what loyalty looks like. Because if truth may be ugly, but it always leaves a trail, stay curious, stay cautious.